afternoon, bon après-midi. My name is Jamie Crooks. Lynn and Claude have asked me to preside over today's service. I'll begin with a few words of my own in honor of Estelle. We'll then hear Faith Hill's There You'll Be as a musical reflection. I will then call on our eulogists as well as family and friends who might want to say a word or tell a story. Let me begin by saying how honored I am to have been asked to say a few words on this solemn occasion. I go back a long way with Estelle's daughters. Claude était parmi les premières personnes que j'ai rencontrées à Bishop. Son amitié m'accompagne depuis 32 ans. Lynn est ma professeure de français, une collaboratrice pour mes projets philosophiques et une amie depuis 15 ans. Toutes les deux, Lynn et Claude, ont enrichi ma vie ainsi que celle des personnes autour d'elle. Estelle, ça va sans dire, est présente de manière lumineuse dans ses filles et le restera toujours. When you mark the conclusion of a long life as we do in this service today, it's almost irresistible to see it whole now for the first time as a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And in reviewing that story, it's almost irresistible to wonder whether, all said and done, it was happy or unhappy. A happy story brings some comfort to those who mourn its end. An unhappy story intensifies grief. If I weigh Estelle's life in the balance, given what I know of her directly, and more importantly, given the testimony of her daughters, what do I find? Ce n'est de toute évidence pas une vie sans défis ou tristesse. Estelle a perdu son mari à l'âge de 40 ans. Selon Lynn, le poids du deuil né de sa perte l'a suivi tout le reste de sa vie. En tant que mère monoparentale, Estelle a porté toute la responsabilité d'élever ses enfants. Et ceci dans une époque où, en dépit de son intelligence vive, elle fut abandonnée avec les femmes de sa génération dans un monde qui a sous-estimé substantiellement leurs talents et leurs aspirations. Hard stuff. And yet, Claude told me, there was never a hint of despair in the Charpentier household. Not a single day of worry for her or for Lynn about food and shelter, even though these things must have been hard won. Only the imperative to get up every day and do the right thing. Cultivate your gifts. Strive for meaning and excellence in life. When Lynn's children came, Estelle poured the same investment into their upbringing. No day without care. No day without pride and the expectation that you will do great things. I suspect no one ever needed more than 5 minutes with Estelle to appreciate the fruit of her daily labor over the decades. The unassailable strength of character, the fierce loyalty to children and grandchildren, and the expectation that your lives will be full of beauty. That when the final chapter of your story is written, it will be happy. Il y a un verset dans le 5e chapitre de l'Épître aux Romains de Paul, qui me semble encadrer parfaitement l'histoire d'Estelle que j'essaie de dépeindre ici. Je cite la traduction de la Bible d'à Jérusalem parce que ce texte est particulièrement percutant. Nous nous glorifions encore des tribulations, sachant bien que la tribulation produit la constance. La constance, une vertu éprouvée. La vertu éprouvée, l'espérance. As I've pondered these words in recent days, I've been struck by the thought that what Paul calls tribulation, a general heading under which we might include challenge and sadness, is something quite different than unhappiness. In tribulation, we see into the very heart of life, the inestimable value of loved ones lost, the nobility of bearing the cross every day for those not yet able to bear it themselves. The unhappy life, by contrast, is a life of complaint and bitterness, blame and self-indulgence. But if these things are the measures of unhappiness, then by all accounts, Estelle never had an unhappy moment. She was simply better than all that. Je vais conclure. Il y a une balance plus simple sous laquelle on pourrait peser l'histoire d'Estelle, et elle vous implique directement. Il y a plusieurs années maintenant, j'ai invité un de mes anciens professeurs à donner une conférence publique à Bishop. Le thème qu'il a développé pour l'occasion était le bonheur. Il a commencé en revoyant la littérature psychologique courante avant de continuer en discutant certains dialogues de Platon, le centre de son expertise. Les arguments qu'il a revus semblaient assez convaincants. Mais comme pour la discussion de n'importe quelle question si fondamentale, on avait l'impression d'éviter le cœur de la problématique. At the very end of the talk, though, he lifted his head from his notes, spoke directly to his audience, and said something I'll never forget. In the end, he said, happiness is a simpler thing than psychologists and philosophers would have us believe. To be happy is to love and be loved. Did Estelle love you? Every day. You were the embodiment of the hope born of her constancy. Will you love her now and forever? Grateful for the world, your world, that she made and put on her back? You will. Your lives are inseparable from that gratitude. That's how this story ends. So we'll now have our musical selection from Faith Hill.
Think back on these times and the dreams we left behind. I'll be glad 'cause I was blessed to get to have you in my life. When I look
on Estelle's grandson, Louis Philippe, now to say a few words.
Good day, everybody. I had a speech, but because I'm such a scatterbrain, I forgot it at home. So I had to improvise last minute. It's gonna be short, so this is all true. Mammy was the best of us, a true lady, a great heart, a loving mother and grandmother. She was very protective of her family, fiercely so, almost comparable to a honey badger or a wolverine. I miss those apple pies, and I resent Dale for stealing most of them. Get you back. We were always well fed, we had clean clothes, and we were loved unconditionally. Thank you for everything, Mammy. We will meet again, but not yet. Not yet. Bless you.
I wonder now if there are other family members or friends who would like to say a few words or tell a story.
So for those of you who don't know me or don't know me a lot, I'm Krista, Marie Andre's daughter. So I wrote a letter. A little bit stressful. Okay. Letter to my sweet earth angel Mammy. One of the most dearest, beautiful, sweet, loving, tender, thoughtful souls I have ever witnessed. You are the embodiment of holy. Your words, your pureness, your intentions, your love, your heart, your legacy will forever be carried in our hearts. You gifted us your light. You gifted us little traditions, rituals, fruits in the morning before anything else, oatmeal, slippers in the house, prayer and faith in the universe. Little quotes that mean so much, like smile to the world and the world will smile back. Or fly away, little bird, fly away. These little comforting things that you would do. Cradle my hair and tuck it on the top of the pillow before sleep. And that's when you would sing or hum me to sleep while reminding me, fly away, little bird, fly away. As if it was comforting me and soothing me to sleep for a blissful, restful night of sleep. Your 4 feet 8 inches of splendor. Your grandiose, emanating aura and presence. Your beautiful and bright, sparkling blue eyes. Your cute and quirky laughs. Your love for music, your love for reading, your autodidact that transpires in me now. What a privilege to have had you as my great-grandmother. Mammy, you transcended me so many beautiful lessons, values, ways of being, ways of thinking that are now part of me. I feel as if you passed pieces of yourself to all the family. No one could ever forget how unconditional love you would pour out to everyone you encountered. Your story, your passion, your legacy, your life will live on, I promise you. Every red porch balcony will remind me of you. Every quaint lakeside house, every home garden, every green tea will have a bit of your essence poured into it. Thank you for being the bestest, most special great-grandmother I could have ever possibly imagined to have. So this is like a message from me, I wrote it, but it's from all of us. It's from my mother, from Zach, and from Luca.
Are there others who would like to say a few words?
Hi. I didn't think it would go like this. I mean, well, so I'm
la petite fille de Mamie, Estelle, malgré que tout le monde l'appelle Mamie. D'abord, merci à tous d'être venus. Thank you to everyone for coming. Some of you have come from really far, and it's so touching. I'm sure to Mammy and definitely to the family. So thank you so much. I don't know if Mammy can see us or hear us, but surely she would feel really loved right now. Anyway, I could speak for days about Mammy, about how she brightened up my life and the life of others. But really what I want to say is that I was just so lucky to have her. I think we were all lucky to know her. To me, she is the most beautiful, one of the most beautiful human beings. She was reliable. She was always found a way to make herself available to her children and her grandchildren. She was selfless, and she was a really brave woman too. She had endeavored many things in her life, some of them alone, and she made it. She was really funny too. I don't know if she knew that she was funny, but she was funny, and she was really cute too. She was so cute. I don't know if she was 4'8" or 4'11", but she was really short. Yeah, I guess maybe she started out as 4'11", and then as time went by, she got a little shorter. But no one could walk all over her, and she ran that household with military level discipline. And even though she was outnumbered by the kids, you couldn't tell. We listen. I think I listened. I don't know about the boys, but yeah. And she never did things halfway, and she always gave everything her best. And that's how she raised us. And I definitely wouldn't be who I am today without her. C'était donc une femme vraiment dévouée, toujours disponible, ou faisant en sorte qu'elle se rendait disponible pour ses enfants, ses petits-enfants. C'était une femme merveilleuse, la plus belle femme, selon moi, à tous les niveaux. Elle va me manquer beaucoup. Enfin voilà, merci Mamie pour tout. Thank you for giving me everything I needed, and thank you for giving us everything, for being everything to me, to many of us. Et encore une fois, merci à tout le monde d'être venu célébrer la vie de Mamie.
Is there anyone else who would like to say a few words? If not, then I'll call on Lynn for some final words.
Please indulge me. Good afternoon to you all, and to you, Mamie. Bonjour à tous. Merci d'être là. First, I would like to tell you that this is a glorious moment, not to mourn Mammy, but to celebrate the exceptional woman that she was. She touched so many lives, always discreetly, because she never liked a fanfare, never turning away from helping anyone defenseless who had no one else to turn to. At the hospital, when at work, she never turned her back on correcting a mistake that had wronged a patient. She was tiny, a wisp of a woman, but oh so mighty. My sister Claude, my children, my grandchildren, and I all share the richness of her DNA, which definitely explains the strong personalities that we have. She was the glue that bound all of us together, her children and grandkids, great grandkids, and she was the rock that we could always count on. This tiny wisp of a woman, but oh so mighty. I want to take a few moments to talk about our Mammy, if you indulge me, in two parts. Part one, the part of her life before the Alzheimer's disease that robbed her in increments of her memory and the ability to appreciate life as she had known it. That period before Alzheimer's, when she lived at the lake, was the happiest time of her life. Before Alzheimer's, Mammy was born in a family of 9 living brothers and sisters. She was born the 7th child after her little sister Françoise had died in infancy. As a young child, she learned to quickly adapt to the lay of the land and of the times. In those days, girls did not attend university, only the boys, if the family could afford it. All of her brothers did. It was the greatest regret of her life. Mammy knew she had the intellect for university studies, but also knew she would not be allowed to attend. So she studied really hard throughout her studies to be the very best. She shared with me that her father, Alphonse, attended at school every time there was an invitation for parents to come collect their child's report card. You would know about that, eh, Krista? She was always top of her class, and it was important for her to see her father's pride. Mammy loved learning. Did you know that when she was at secretarial school, and before that, in what they called cours commercial at the time, she decided to teach herself English? How? Every single day, she chose to learn one new page of the dictionary. Mammy was ambitious. After her secretarial course, bilingual course, one of her first jobs was to work for her father when he was General Secretary of the city of Magog. That can't have been easy, as he was a demanding father and boss. She would come back from work and help with her mother, Florida, my middle name, who was bedridden and very ill. She would rub her legs as prescribed by the doctor. She was living at home at the time and paid room and board. At any rate, we all know that Mammy was a perfectionist in everything that she did. This quality was quickly recognized by her bosses, right up to her top position as Mr. Noel's personal assistant at the hospital, which was her last job before retiring. I may be getting ahead of myself, but would you believe that she walked to the hospital on the 13th of February, 1953, no taxi, no car, on a freezing day, all by herself, to deliver her baby, me. My father was still in Montreal at the time at veterinary school. I would be remiss not to mention that she was a sibling in her family who was always willing to help out. For instance, finding a job for his sister Rachel at the hospital, taking her young brother Guy to concerts in Sherbrooke with some of her girlfriends, listening sympathetically to Paul, her other younger brother, who would show up at her door after a stormy session with his wife Connie. She was also there. I'm sorry, I need water. Anybody get me some water? Thank you for indulging me. Oops. She was also there for colleagues like Carmen at the hospital, who was worried about her nephew Patrick, whom Mammy gave odd jobs to do to help out. Life dealt Mammy quite a few bad cards, one being when our dad Roger died on the eve of her 41st birthday. I still don't know how she managed. No insurance money since our dad had had his first heart attack at the age of 35. Therefore, no insurance money wanted to insure him. No insurance company wanted to insure him after that. So, all she could count on was herself, her little salary since she was just starting out at the hospital. She got no outside help. But Mammy was never the type to beg for help. She was too proud. It was a difficult time because our dad had died abroad, complicating things even more. What I still remember is that Claude and I would get a glimpse of her, hiding away in her boudoir from time to time, discreetly shedding a few tears. It has to be said that Claude and I never lacked for anything. Mammy found a way to keep paying for us to attend a private school. We continued to get new shoes, clothes, skis, and ski boots. When it became necessary, we never went without. Mammy never discussed with us how hard it must have been. She just did what she had to do. A tiny wisp of a woman, but oh so mighty. She never remarried, but chose to devote her life to raising Claude and me and giving us the best that she could. She never put herself first. Once she retired, she devoted her time to help raise my children, her grandchildren, and even Marie's children, her great-grandkids. We never heard her complain or brag about what she was doing for any one of us or how much it cost her financially. I have one short anecdote about that period when our father died. At that time, this is something else. At that time, he drove a Carmen Ghia by Volkswagen, a stick shift. Mom didn't know how to drive a stick shift. She asked her brother Paul to drive her to my grandfather's cottage at the lake in the Carmen Ghia and to leave her there. She would teach herself how to drive this stick shift if it killed her and would drive herself back to Magog in that car. She did. Afterwards, she never drove anything but a stick shift. Another blow was when they discovered that she had lymph node cancer. She had to undergo chemo treatments for several months at the CHUS. It was scary for her, yet she beat it. Another blow was when her dear brother Paul suddenly died of a heart attack. It broke her heart. Mammy dealt with every blow the only way she knew how, stoically and alone. She did have one way to vent. She would talk to herself out loud. Sometimes I would arrive at her place and hear a steady monologue. Écoute, Thérèse, dans le fond, c'est pas si pire que ça. Oui, mais Paul, peut-être que si tu essayais de... Franchement, Jeanne, c'est pas de nos affaires, ça. No one argued back. It was certainly a relief. It was certainly a relief for her to have these one-sided dialogues. She was essentially a solitary person, except for when she went to work. On the whole, Mammy managed to keep her chin up, her head above water, never losing her generous streak, whether it be helping me with my children, helping with my click method, helping Claude move back to Magog in her house to enable her to return to studying at Bishop's, helping her with realizing her dream of studying in Edinburgh, Scotland, moving these tons of books and shipping cans and cans of maple syrup, making apple pies and pets to serve for Dale and the boys. Nothing made her happier than doing something for her family. Overall, the happiest time of Mammy's life was really when she retired from the hospital and moved to the lake, frugally renovating her father's camp, which she had bought from him with the help of her grumpy neighbor, Maurice, so that the camp could become a modest home livable all year round. Part 2, Alzheimer's. At first, won't be long. At first, when the first signs of Alzheimer's appeared, Mammy would say, no, I forget little things, once in a while, but it's normal. It's my age. At the time, she was around 86, 87 years old. Then it gradually became clear that she could not continue living alone, on her own at the lake. It was hard for her to let go, to accept moving into a residence and to sell her precious home, the only one that had ever belonged to her. As the disease gradually took a chunk of her cognitive faculties away, She eventually had to be displaced 6 times, each time losing more of her autonomy and her bearings. It was hard for her to adapt. 1. First leaving her lake behind. 2. Moving into the Le Havre des Cantons. 3. Moving down to l'Oasis, section for non-autonomous residents. 4. Booted out of the Oasis and ending up at the ER. 5. Being transferred to the 6th floor of the hospital, twice on that floor. 6. Finally transferred to the CHSLD at the end of October 2022. Thank God, Miss André Roy, her social worker, appeared when Mammy moved to the Havre des Cantons at first. She stayed involved from that point on. Over time, everything sort of blurry, the timeline, and bland, like bland food, bland routine, having difficulty remembering names. People is basically a blank and bland canvas. Everything that she had loved, sitting on her veranda, sipping tea at the lake, listening to the birds chirping away in the morning, watching the news in the evening and understanding it, reading, all of that was gone. Mammy always told my children and me that the most beautiful things in life were free. Nature, sunset, sunrise, the scent of freshly mowed grass, the sunlight reflecting on the water on a beautiful day, and the moon at night. She taught us to appreciate these things and not take them for granted. And when hardship came knocking at our door, she would tell each and every one of us repeatedly, "À chaque journée suffit sa peine. This bad patch will come to pass." This being said, Mammy, despite the disease and its progression, never totally lost bits of her strong character and personality. She still had that spark and spunk at times. The last year and a half, she had little appetite, ate and drank next to nothing except for her tomato juice and her ensuite. So about 2 weeks before she died, I had been trying to get some food into her at lunch, trying to distract her in order to slip in a spoonful. We were always sitting at the same table side by side. She slowly, head high, regally turned her head towards me, staring me down with those baby blues of hers, and said, "Ferme ta gueule, tu me tapes sur les nerfs." And perfectly enunciated. Okay. Forget Alzheimer's. That shuts a person up, let me tell you. Just a few days ago on my birthday, the 13th of February, I said to Mammy, upon arriving at the cafeteria for the same lunch ritual, after sitting down next to her, I said, "Guess what, Mom? It's my birthday today." To which she replied, "Oh, oui? Quel âge as-tu?" I replied, "I'm 70 years old." Oof, just saying it is hard. I'm 70 years old. Her reaction was one of disbelief. To this, I added, "Guess what? It will be your birthday soon, on the 19th of February." Again, her reaction was, "Quel âge est-ce que je vais avoir?" I replied, "Tu vas avoir 97 ans." She looked at me again in disbelief. Sort of like you're putting me on. In closing, Mammy had a long life, dedicating it to others, mainly her family, and always making sure that they came first. Though several sad events punctuated her life, she picked herself up and had the courage to keep going. This tiny wisp of a woman, but oh so mighty. There is no one on this planet that I admire more than my mother. She will always be my beacon. There is something stronger than death. It's the presence of those who are absent, because they live in the memory of those who are living, us. One can never go back. All one can do is to focus unwaveringly on the best way to go forward. One way that I have found to move forward is to move backwards to a time when my mother and I would have conversations, sometimes heated discussions, not in labored speech, but in intelligent, easy-flowing conversations, the way we used to have before Alzheimer's. It's basically come full circle. My mother used to have many such conversations with those who were absent. I am simply continuing the family tradition, and I must tell you that it makes me feel good, very good. Finally, enfin, j'envoie mes prières à Dieu pour le salut de ton âme et à toi, maman, tout mon amour pour toujours, ainsi que des orchidées à profusion. Dis bonjour à toute la famille là-haut. Merci pour tout, mamie. Thank you.
This brings us to the end of our service, and our last number will be Amazing Grace. While that is playing, Estelle's urn will be moved to the back of the chapel, and those who would like to say a last goodbye on the way out may do so.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once